Blessings, beloveds. Welcome back. Anastasia, Cosmic Astrologer. Welcome back to my channel. To all of you that follow frequently and to any new viewers. So today's subject, again, is born out of a viewer wanting to know how do I look at a solar chart? How do I create that if I don't have a birth time, for instance? Now, the first thing I want to clarify is that if you have a time of birth, usually you would use that birth chart to have a look at the relative transits, right, to your natal chart. So if you have, you were born at a particular time, day, and place, and you have Taurus as your ascendant sign, then depending on the degree as well, but let's just say that you have 4 degrees of Aries, 4 degrees of Taurus as your ascendant sign, then immediately you would know that at the moment, transiting Uranus is right on your ascendant. Why? Because transiting Uranus in the heavens is at 4 degrees of Taurus at the moment as we speak. So if you know you have an ascendant that's 4 degrees of Taurus, well, where is Uranus going to be relative to your birth chart? It's going to be right on your ascendant. With a solar chart, however, you can use it if you still have a timed birth chart. I'm not saying you can't, but the most popular reason for people to use what's called solar charts, which is placing the sun on the ascendant in order to cast the entire chart. And then when you have the sun on the ascendant, doesn't matter what sign you are, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, whatever, you always just put the sun on the ascendant. So that means that the ascendant will be the same as your sun sign. So if you're a Pisces, we will start the chart with a Pisces ascendant. If you're a Gemini, we will start the chart with Gemini ascendant, because the sun is always going to define the entire chart. That's a solar system, solar house system. And that, as I said, that is frequently used when people do not have a birth time, and for astrologers or whoever who basically will present an episode or a podcast giving the outlook for 2020 for Pisceans, or for the month or for the week, however they wish to break it down. So if you see a podcast or a presentation that says 2020 for Pisces, here's what to expect for the entire year. Well, basically what they're using is this solar chart. They're putting your sun in Pisces on the ascendant, okay? And then they are just looking at the ephemeris, which is just a book of tables showing you the position of every single planet to date. So if we were to look at the ephemeris for today, we would see that Mercury is in Aquarius, the sun is in Aquarius, Venus is in Pisces, Mars is in Sagittarius, and so on and so forth. We would look at, well, what degree is Mercury at? What degree is Mars at? What degree is Venus at? And then by identifying the degree of any particular body that we are looking at today, for example, we would say, okay, so we've got this solar chart, and we've got, I'm a Pisces, so I've put, I've casted this solar chart, which places my sun in the first house. Therefore, my first house is Pisces. What's my second house going to be? What's the next sign after Pisces? It's Aries. So my second house is going to be Aries. Are there any planets in Aries at the moment? Yes, Chiron. So Chiron then would sit in my second house of my solar chart, not a solar return chart. I will show you what a solar return chart is, and I'll explain to you the difference as well. So a viewer wanted to know how to use astro.com to create a solar chart, as it were. What I would actually recommend is this, because I'm not too familiar with astro.com. I don't use it. I had a little fiddle around with it to prepare some pointers for this presentation. So what I would use astro.com for is this. first of all, before I go there, let me just show you this. Okay, so I've actually preset some charts here. So this is a very simple way you can do this for yourself. If you don't have a time of birth, and even if you do, and you just want to look at a solar chart and the transits and what that might look like or mean for you at the moment or for the next 12 months or however long you are looking ahead, even if you have a timed birth chart. So now I've set up here, I'm using SolarFire, as most of you would be aware. What I've set up here is I've just used this year, for instance, and I've just used this date, 21st of February, which is virtually when the sun has ingressed into Pisces. Don't worry about this date at all. Just imagine that you are a Pisces. You could have been born 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 40 years ago. It doesn't matter. What I would encourage you to do, because I'm not sure you can actually use this type of facility with astro.com, so therefore you don't need SolarFire to do this either. I've just used SolarFire to demonstrate, okay? But you can do this with a pen and a piece of paper. Get a pen and a piece of paper and just draw a circle, okay? Divide the circle into 12 sections. You can see here there are numbers, right? 1 right through to 12, which correlates to the 12 zodiac signs, the 12 houses. Draw your circle and create 12 different sections to reflect exactly what you see on the screen right now. If you are a Pisces, regardless of what year you were born in, what you would do is you would place your sun at whatever degree it is. Say that you have the sun in Pisces at 15 degrees. You would put it here in the first house, not necessarily on the ascendant. We are using whole sign houses for this demonstration as well. Whole sign houses can just keep things very clear cut. You can see, and I said this in the previous video, we're starting with 0 degrees, whatever sign your sun is in, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Leo, Cancer, Sag, whatever. Create the ascendant to reflect the same sign as your sun. So if you're a Pisces, you put Pisces on the ascendant point. That's not your ascendant sign, but because we don't have a time of birth, we are working with this system in order to make some sense or to be able to have some kind of insight or understanding as to how these planetary energies could possibly be affecting our life personally from the point of view of using this system. Now, another way this is used is that you will hear astrologers say, if you have Pisces ascendant or if you have Pisces sun, all right, it's that they're using the same system. They are imagining that you have a Pisces ascendant, which will then help them understand that if you have Pisces ascendant, what's in Pisces at the moment transiting? We've got Venus and Neptune, haven't we? So if you have a Pisces ascendant and you're using this whole sign system houses particularly, then you know that transiting Venus and transiting Neptune, which are both in Pisces at the moment, will be in your first house. So this correlates to if you have a Pisces ascendant, it can be used in that general way, and or if you don't have a time of birth and you're just using this solar house system. Are you following? I hope so. Okay, so here we go. Here's the solar chart. I'm a Pisces. I've put the sun in the first house there. Now, I've looked at my ephemeris and I've located the position of every planet as it stands today, and I've made a note. You know, Mercury is in Aquarius, Mars is in Sag, etc. And then I look at my blank chart here that I've got, that I've drawn up with a pen and paper, which virtually takes 2 minutes to do. And I do this with my students anyway. When I was teaching a while back, I'm not necessarily teaching courses at the moment. I intend to. I have spoken about it and I will get there, but it's just a case of timing. Everything is about timing in this life, absolutely everything, in ways that we don't even understand, as much as we look into this stuff as well, by the way. Life just has this level of mystery that we can't actually access through information and left brain. We just simply cannot. Right brain only. Intuition. Okay, so let's go back to this again. I've looked at the ephemeris. I know where all the planets are. I've drawn my circle. I've put the sun on the ascendant, which therefore creates the entire chart for me. My first house is Pisces because I am a Pisces. My second house is Aries because that's the next sign after Pisces. The third house is Taurus. This is all because I'm a Pisces and I've put the Pisces sun on the ascendant. If we were to change this to any other sign, to Gemini, then we would have Gemini over here on the ascendant, and we would have the Gemini sun here in the first house. What's the next sign after Gemini? It's Cancer. So then we would see Cancer in this second house. What's after Cancer? It's Leo. So then we would see Leo in the third house, and so on and so forth. It's the same principle. You're following the same sequence just based on what your sun sign is. That sun and your sun sign determines this whole solar chart, as it's called. Okay. Now, okay, so you've got your circle, which I just showed you, which you can just draw with a pen and paper, because I don't know how you can do that on astro.com or other software or programs that are free online, because I don't use them. So I don't know if these sorts of features are available. I know on Solify they are, because I just showed you, right? I've created this empty chart, which I can do. I can go back now and I can basically put whatever I want in this chart. I can put 1 point, I can put 2 planets, I can put absolutely anything I want or don't want. That's the beauty of having your own sort of software. You can create from a blank canvas, which is what this is essentially, except for the sun, of course. So then if you don't have an ephemeris, or you don't have your own sort of software, you could go to, here's astro.com, here's the page. Now, I just clicked into Google astro.com. It brings up the website and it gives you, there's a little tab that says create a birth chart or birth chart, something to that effect, right? You'll see that. I've just gone on to the next page, which is this page that you see in front of you now. This page says birth data entry. So obviously you can use this to cast a chart if you have a birth time. Even if you don't have a birth time, you can still cast a chart. You can just use any time. You can just say, all right, I'm just going to set my birth chart for 6 a.m., even though I don't know what time I was born. Bear in mind, though, that chart that you set for 6 a.m., the chart that's going to come up is going to correlate to and reflect your date, time, and location of birth correlating to 6 a.m. because that's the time you've put in. So in other words, the chart that it brings up and all the planets that you see located wherever they are, that's not where they are, because that's not your time of birth. But what you can see is the planets in the signs they were in. So when you were born, let's use Pisces again. You're a sun sign in Pisces. During that time that you were born, month, year, location, Mercury was in Pisces as well. Maybe Venus was in Pisces as well, or Taurus, or wherever. Mars was in Cancer, wherever, right? You get the position of where the planets were at your birth, but you cannot say that these are the houses they were in when you don't have a time of birth. Okay, so now back to the solar chart. You've got your circle, you've drawn it up, okay? You're a Gemini, so you've put Gemini as your starting point. You're a Cancer, so you've put Cancer as, always put 0 degrees, right? We want to use whole sign houses in order to simplify things, and plus you don't have a time of birth. So your next level is, if you're going to use astro.com, very simple. Get to this point, which is just 1 click into the next page. brings up this page and it shows you here first name, last name, gender, birthday, month, year, time. And then further down here, it shows you location. Now, I actually chose the US just as an example, and I've chosen New York. And what I've done is I haven't put a name, because what I'm creating now with this particular chart is I'm actually creating a chart just for today. So it's not a birth chart of somebody. It could be, but it's not. What I'm doing is I'm creating a chart which is going to show me the position of all the planets today, 25th of January 2020. I've just put in 6 a.m. because the time doesn't even matter, okay? The location doesn't even matter, really, but I've just chosen the location because you have to. Okay, so I've put in all my data entry. Now, if you were creating your own birth chart through this, you would put your name, okay? You would put your gender. It shows you there, female, male, event or other. Event or other just means it's an event or it's transits that you're looking at, for example, which is what we are doing today. If you were to put in, you are creating your own birth chart, so you have a time of birth, so you want to create your own birth chart, you put in your birth data entry here, you put in the time and the minutes if you know them, and then you put in your location here. Now, this gives you options of virtually, I would think, most places on this planet, okay? As I said, I have just chosen New York, Florida, USA, just for the purposes of this example. But if you are creating your own chart, you put in your own personal details, obviously. If you're creating a transit chart for today, or if you want to create a transit chart for next week or for 10 years' time, it doesn't matter. This is a calculated program that is able to cast a chart for any moment in time, past, present, or future. You just need to put the right data in this little box in order to retrieve the information you want correlating to the date of entry you've put in. So let's continue. Okay, so this is flipping around here. What's it doing? Let's have a look. Just bear with me, guys, because okay, so it's taking me into extended chart selection. Okay, this is a next window it takes you into, and it's got chart type. So for example, if we drop down this window, it's going to give you a number of different options because that's what's available here. Now, we're not looking at any of these other options, so we're just going to keep it as a natal chart wheel because that's all we really want to look at the moment. It's just a normal chart, right? Not a synastry chart, not a composite chart, not a Davison chart, which are all relationship charts. Drawing style, we'll just keep it as the web default style. There are different styles you could use, in other words, okay? Don't worry about all that. Just keep it simple. House system, default. Okay, so the default system, I think for astro.com is Placidus, and I'm just going to choose whole sign, okay? You don't have to do this for this part. I'm just choosing that just as an example. Where are you? Where are you, whole sign? That one's here. Look, actually, you know what? That doesn't even matter. I just picked it up. Okay, and you want to check over here. See this little box over here? It's showing you options. What sort of zodiac are you using? The tropical, the sidereal, draconic, and are you using the geocentric or heliocentric system? Now, for the purposes of what I'm discussing today, we are using the tropical zodiac and we are using a geocentric chart. Heliocentric charts are very powerful, by the way. They show you something incredibly spiritual about your life that cannot be seen in the geocentric chart. I think I'll offer a presentation down the track about that. So just make sure that you have tropical and geocentric highlighted here as well. So let's just click here now to actually get the chart showing for us. And here it is, okay? So this could be a birth chart of somebody. However, it happens to just be, for the purposes of what we are looking at today, is a transit chart. Now you can see here, it's showing us basically the position. Don't worry about the house locations. This is not important because we are not assessing this chart that you see in front of you as a birth chart. All we want to know is where's Mars, where's Mercury, where's Pluto, where's Venus, where's Saturn, etc. Now, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky if you're not familiar with charts, if you're not familiar with astro.com. I don't find these particular charts to be great at all, actually. Another reason why I avoid using astro.com altogether. I don't like the way this is drawn up. For example, this is just messy to me. Anyway, that's just my opinion. The good thing is, though, as you scroll down, what you have is you have this grid and you have this little table over here. And that shows you very clearly the sun on this day, this month, and this year, for where I've drawn it up from, shows us the sun's at 4 degrees of Aquarius, 57 minutes and 57 seconds. That's what that is, just so you know. The number in front is always the degree. Then it follows by telling you what sign is there. It follows by minutes. Minutes has got one little apostrophe next to it up the top there. And seconds is always two little apostrophes. That's how you know that this is 4 degrees of Aquarius, 57 minutes and 57 seconds. That's the sun's position today. And then if you follow this table down, you will see it shows you the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, true node meaning north node in Cancer, and Chiron, which is at 2 degrees of Aries, 16 minutes and 5 seconds. This grid here on the right-hand side is showing you the aspects between the planets in this particular chart, or rather even the aspects between the planets in the heavens right now, today, as we speak. So what, I mean, look, I don't want to go into that because that's just teaching further things, and that's sort of taking us out of what I wanted to focus on for today. So what you would do with this then is you've got your circle, you've drawn your circle with the 12 houses, you're a sun in Pisces, so you've put your sun in the first house, and then you look at, okay, well, where's the transiting sun at the moment? The transiting sun is in Aquarius. So the transiting sun will actually be in your 12th house if we are using the sun on the ascendant as the solar house system. Remember, I showed you the chart, the empty chart. The sun is in the first house. What's the sign that comes before Pisces? It's Aquarius. So if Pisces is the first house, then Aquarius, in this case, has to be the 12th house. So that means that the transiting sun is in your solar 12th house. Okay, where's Mercury? Mercury is in Aquarius as well. Where's Aquarius in this chart? Let's just bring that chart up again. Okay, Mercury's at 14 degrees of Aquarius, right? Let's go back to this empty chart. So here's your solar chart. We know that the sun and Mercury are both in Aquarius. This is where they're going to be, in your 12th house of this solar chart. Why? Because 0 degrees of Aquarius begins at the 12th house. So any planet at the moment that is anywhere from 0 degrees of Aquarius to 29 degrees of Pisces will be sitting in your 12th house relative to this solar chart. So what you would do, as I said, you would have a look at, you draw up the chart on astro.com, pretty easy, punch in, the right data, brings you up this chart. Don't worry about what this chart looks like. Go straight down to this grid here. It's a very simple way, and you can see where everything is. Make a note of that. Go back to your empty circle that you've drawn on a piece of paper, let's say, and then put every single planet into its right location based on what sign it's in. Mars is in Sag. So where is Sag in this chart? It's in the 10th house. So we would say that at the moment, transiting Mars in Sagittarius is transiting my 10th house from my solar chart. Transiting Neptune is in my first house because I have Pisces in my first house relative to this solar chart. What else do we have? Saturn and Pluto. Transiting Saturn and Pluto, for those of you that are Pisces, are experiencing transiting Saturn and Pluto in your 11th house, and so on and so forth. Transiting Uranus at the moment is at 4 degrees of Taurus. Where is Taurus in this chart? It's right down here. You can see it. There's the Taurus symbol. So where do I put Uranus? I place it here in the 3rd house. So I know that transiting Uranus for the next 7 years will be transiting my solar 3rd house. Hopefully this is clear. I've tried to simplify it as much as I possibly can. Okay, a solar return chart is something that is very different to this. I've just brought up Prince's chart as an example. Now, he's not with us anymore, but it's okay. We can still use him as an example. This is Prince's birth chart. His time of birth, place of birth, date of birth gives him this particular chart, gives him that Scorpio ascendant, and it places his sun at 16 degrees of Gemini and 40 minutes in his 8th house. Now, if he was alive and with us today, and we wanted to have a look at his solar return, if you're using Solar Fire, it's very simple. I've already created it, but I'll just run through it with you again. So I want to look at Prince's solar return chart for 2020. What does that mean? That means that Solar Fire, I'll show you how in a moment, is going to draw up a chart for me, which will be a chart unto itself. It's called a solar return chart. A lot of astrologers use solar return charts in their forecasting and predicting. Solar return charts, in my opinion, are not always consistent with what they deliver, but there are some things I've been tweaking with them, which I hope to present and teach you guys in the near future. I just want to do a bit more research with something I've been playing around with relative to solar return charts. But let's just say that you are interested in looking at your solar return chart, you work with them, you want to play around with them, whatever. If you have Solar Fire, on astro.com, I believe you can do a solar return chart. Not 100% sure, but I think you would, because astro.com has a fairly wide selective process of options relative to charts. So I would think solar returns would be in there as well. That's up to you to investigate and play around with. I can't do that for you, but I can make the distinction and show you the difference, which is more important. So if you have Solar Fire, you and the version that I have, maybe other versions are a little bit different, but generally whatever Solar Fire version you have, you would find that at the left-hand side you see the word chart. You click it on it, and it gives you this tab, this window, which just gives you all these different options of things you can do. What we want to do is we want to create a solar return. A solar return is found under the tab there, the heading of return and ingress. Okay, so if I click that window, it brings up this second window, and what I need to do is I need to make sure I have the correct chart highlighted. If I have this top chart here highlighted, okay, transits 25th January 2020, and here is the next window. Let's just keep it simple. Don't worry about all this other stuff here. It'll take too long to go into it. I want a solar return chart. It's already highlighted a solar return for me. Do I want a solar return chart for the 25th of January 2020? No. So make sure you have the right chart highlighted. I want to look at the chart, the solar return chart of Prince for the year of 2020. So I make sure I have his chart highlighted. I know it's highlighted because I can see it and I can see the data in this window on the left-hand side. I can see that solar return is highlighted. What I also want to do is I just choose the nearest, and that brings up virtually the closest one that we're about to step into, okay? If you go to current, it will show you the previous solar return that you are probably still in, okay? If you go to next, it'll likely take you to the next one that you are about to go into, okay? Hopefully it makes sense. You can play around with that and see for yourself. All right, so here we go. Here's the solar return chart for Prince of 2020, if he was alive, right? You can see the date of birth here. It's showing you this is a solar return chart for who? For Prince. This is the time his sun in Gemini. Now remember the degrees and minutes that I said to you his sun was in. It was 16 degrees and about 40 minutes of Gemini. That's his natal sun. So the solar return chart is going to reflect the exact position of the sun, having returned, that's why it's called a solar return, back to its natal position. It's taken 1 year to get from 16 Gemini 40 minutes back to going through all the zodiac. By the time it comes back to 16 degrees and 40 minutes, that's a solar return. It takes 1 year. The sun travels through the zodiac in 1 year, doesn't it? It's got to go through 12 zodiac signs, right? Okay, a month in each. All right. So this solar return chart is not the same as the solar chart that I just spent the first 20 minutes sharing. This is a solar return, and this is based on the fact that we know Prince's time of birth. This solar return chart can be read and understood from the level of the solar return chart. You could say, very simply put, there's more to it than this, but very simply put, the solar return chart, in this case, 2020 for Prince, this would show us potentially the undercurrents and energies for the next 12 months until he has his next solar return, which will be in June, again, 7th of June, 2021. So from 7th of June, 2020 to 7th of June, 2021, this chart will reflect to some degree the undercurrents and energies of how his sun, the sun sign, is going to be expressed and experienced and actualized and so forth. And a sun in the 12th house would not be necessarily an easy experience. Anyway, I'm not going to delineate and unpack what this solar return chart means. First of all, Prince is not even alive. Second of all, that's not the direction I wanted to go in. I just wanted to show you guys this is what a solar return chart is. You can do this for yourself for any year. You can do it for when you were 10 years old. You can do it for when you were 50, for when you were 30, for when you were 40. You can do it for this year, for next year, for last year. And if you want to learn how to use solar return charts and want to work with them, the very first thing you need to do is look at your own chart and look at your own solar return charts. And look at the last 5 years, for example. Have a look at every solar return chart for the last 5 years. What is it you can identify in the last 5 years that is somehow reflected through the solar return chart for that year? Can you draw anything out of it? What is it speaking? What is it showing you, if anything at all? As I said, solar return charts are not always so consistent. In fact, they're more inconsistent than anything else, which is why I rely on other tools to actually do my forecasting. But I am tweaking a different system with solar returns, which I haven't completed yet, so I won't share it. Okay, so that's a solar return chart. Back to the solar chart, which is created from your sun sign, period. Whatever your sun sign is, you put the sun on the ascendant. That creates this wheel. You have your transits ready, whether you've looked at an ephemeris, whether you've looked at astro.com and just had a look at what I showed you and look at where the transiting planets are relative to today. Draw them into this chart. Then you know where everything is relative to this chart. The other thing that you could do as well with astro.com is it has the function of drawing an ephemeris for you. So instead of drawing the chart, it will give you the option to draw an ephemeris. You can see here, there's the word. So click ephemeris, and I've just, like, for example, here, it's showing you today. Okay, so start date 2020. Seems like there are some limitations to this. Okay, start date 2020. Show time data in time zone and reference place. That's not so important necessarily. Here, make sure you've got tropical geocentric again. Now, this, I'm just a bit puzzled here. Oh, hang on. Edit birth data. What does that do? As I said, I'm not familiar with, okay, that's just taken us back to creating a birth chart. So, it seems to me that you maybe can just do a year at a time, all right? Because you can't change the today option, but you can change the year. You see I highlighted that. Let's just take that out. So you can put in 2022, 2018, whatever year you want. So let's just put in 2020 just to demonstrate the example. Click here to show. So, okay, here we go. So it brings it up in a different, what's it called? No, it's brought it yet. No, disregard that half comment. Okay, so here we go. It's showing you Astrodientis ephemeris tables for the year of 2020. This is probably a better way to do it, actually, than just drawing up the chart that I originally showed you. So what this is showing you is, this is what an ephemeris is. It's a book of tables which is showing you the position of all the planets. You can see up here it's got day, sidereal, yes, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus. Don't worry about that column there. The Moon is the only one that you will not get an accurate position of the exact degree of the Moon, because this is using universal time. 0000 is universal time, which is not accurate from the point of view of your location necessarily, unless you're at 000. So because the Moon is a very fast moving body and it changes degrees, 1 degree every 2 hours, what the column of the Moon reflects here will not necessarily be accurate. So that's the only column that you can't be certain of in terms of the actual degree of the Moon. But everything else you can be sure of. So, for example, this is showing us the month of January, okay? And as you can see, if I continue to scroll down, there's the month of February 2020, there's March, April, and so forth. It's taking us through the whole year, right? It's showing you where everything is for 2020. So here is the day, okay? The column that is highlighted under day, the first column which says day, it's showing you the actual day. Wednesday, the 1st of January, the sun was at 10 degrees of Capricorn, 0 minutes and 34 seconds. That's how you read that. You need to know your symbols here, otherwise you won't understand this. So that's the first thing. You need to know the glyphs for every zodiac sign, because that's how you identify what they're actually showing you. Now, today is the 25th of January 2020, which is a Saturday. And this is the position. Let me just see, sun, moon. Okay. Well, let's maybe skip that because you can't. Well, no, you can. You can. Just follow me. Okay. Sunday, 25th of January. Okay. This is the column of the sun. You can see that because there it is. It's the same system through every month. This is not going to change. This is always going to look exactly the same for whatever month or year you look at, right? This is the standard system of drawing up these tables. So the 25th of January, which is today, we can see the sun, okay? I'm looking at this column here where I'm hovering my cursor. Sunday, 25th of January, disregard that. The sun is at 4 degrees, 27 minutes of Aquarius. The next column is showing us that the moon at some time, right, on the 25th of January, is going to be at 5 degrees of Aquarius. We know that because we just had a new moon, didn't we? If you go to the next column, it's showing you where Mercury is. Why do I know that? Because I'm just using this line underneath to identify which column is for which planet, right? Mercury, okay, 25th of January. Mercury is at 14 degrees of what sign? You can't see a sign there, can you? So what you need to do here is, if I just continue looking down, right, and I go to Friday the 31st of January, where is Mercury? It's at 24 degrees of Aquarius. So that's telling me that these lines above, if I go back to 25th of January, Mercury is still in Aquarius, because when it's about to change signs, it shows you, like, for example, let's move on to the month of February. Okay, looking at Mercury, you can see it's showing you Sunday the 1st of February 2020, Mercury is at 25 degrees of Aquarius. There's the symbol of Aquarius in between the numbers. 25 is the degrees, 59 is the minutes. Okay, Aquarius is that squiggly line symbol. There it is right there. When does Mercury go into Pisces? Well, here it is here. It's actually on the 4th of February. Okay, we can see there's Mercury. There's the Pisces symbol, the two lines with the line in the center. Okay, that's why I said you need to know your glyphs, your symbols. We can see on the 4th of February 2020, Mercury ingresses into Pisces, because there it is there, 0 degrees, there's the symbol, and there's the minutes. It's 48 minutes, so it's actually been in the sign of Pisces for quite a few hours, okay? So this is because Mercury moves fairly fast as well. Again, you get a relatively accurate position of where Mercury is, but you just need to know this is showing you 0 degrees and 48 minutes, which is not the true ingress of Mercury in Pisces at just saying, the 4th of February. Well, what time, on the 4th of February did that happen? It happened some time ago, because it's already 48 minutes into the sign of Pisces. Okay, so these are some of the technical aspects, I suppose, of astrology, where you need to be able to identify degrees, minutes, seconds, symbols, numbers, signs changing, planets changing into the next sign, and so forth. But you can use this table to start to become familiar with this. You need to, if you're going to work with astrology and you're going to, look at your own chart, look at other people's charts, whatever, using this solar system, or even if you're just using your natal birth chart, okay, and you want to see where are the transits at the moment relative to my birth chart, you can still use this table, okay? You would just say, I've got 16 degrees of Pisces ascendant. That's my rising sign, right? So if I look in this column here, I could see, right? Where's Neptune? There it is there. Neptune's at 16 degrees of Pisces at the moment. So where does that put Neptune? It puts it right on my ascendant of my birth chart. So I've got a time. That's why I've got an ascendant of 16 degrees of Pisces, because I have a time. Okay. So let's just get rid of that. Okay. So hopefully this has clarified how to work with solar charts and how to create them and so forth. I think that's it. Yes. Okay. So I did this because, as I said, there was a viewer who wanted to know how to do this herself. And whenever somebody asks an important question, um, the way I see it is I see it as, okay, so if that person asks that question, it is highly possible that there are a number of other people that have the same question in their own mind, but they just don't verbalize it. Or maybe they just haven't asked me, for instance. So when a viewer asks an important question, I actually love it because I think, okay, this is an opportunity to teach something to a number of different people. So the person who asks the question is creating a benefit for a lot of people. That's what I'm trying to say. I'll see you guys very, very soon with something new. I have some videos coming up that I need to do on, Saturn ingressing into Aquarius and oh, there's so much. It's just a question of time. I'm sending you all so much love and blessings. I hope you had a wonderful new moon. I hope you planted all your beautiful seeds and intentions. I had an amazing meditation this morning because the new moon in Melbourne actually wasn't until this morning sometime, and the sun had completely risen. So I literally just sat in front of the sun and just closed my eyes and meditated and set forth some very clear intentions of what I want to um, give birth to with this new moon. This new moon for me personally is very powerful. It's right on my ascendant, exactly on my ascendant. So it felt very important to me. So I made a really conscious, specific and special effort to sit with the sun, rising, and just when I closed my eyes, it was magical. All I could see were these pink diamonds, crystal pink diamonds just flashing in front of my eyes while I sat there in the meditation, setting forth my intention. It was just so beautiful. Anyway, I hope you guys found your own way to create your own intentions. And I hope it's going to be a good month for all of us. Much love and see you all soon. Thanks. Bye.